You just know what's going down tomorrow. We got the Slidejam. You know we pretty far now. You know we just got all these people here with us, and I just love it when you guys are around and you're all hearing us. And like I said,
Woo.
We got another one.
Welcome. Woohoo.
Coming at you. Today, we've got a very special guest. His name is Daniel Meyer. Y'all may know him as the Slide Tech Wizard, who managed to topple the skill of many shredders 2 and 3. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
What's up? What's up?
Danny
What's up?
boy in the house, in the hot seat.
Oh yeah. Nah, it has been a while since I've been in this seat. Only one other time though. On the crusty, the munchies, the
Gnarly munchies.
munchies. Yeah, the gnarly munchies, the crusty munchies. Yeah, it was gnarly munchies. Yeah. But I was on.
Love that name.
Really weird interview.
Yeah, dude.
It was definitely weird on my part. Like we were in a bad location.
What were you in, like abandoned warehouse?
No, we were actually hanging out with like these college girls, and it was like our first time ever meeting them. And we showed up, and they were there, and so was one of their dads, and he just started like chilling with us, smoking and drinking, and we were on this podcast the entire time. And it turned into like me, Mikey Keener, and like 4 other random people we had never met before. And
Whoa.
different stories.
And that was all in the podcast. I gotta listen to this now. Just listen to the dad come in like, oh, hey kids, what you up to?
Dude, yeah, he was super good, super cool guy. Yeah, at the time, you know we were.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
It seemed like a way better idea than it was.
Matthew's good at rolling with the punches.
Yeah,
he's got that skill for sure.
Gosh. But yeah, different circumstances this time, so I'm just stoked to make it work.
So Daniel, you're like East Coast or die, right? You've been over there for quite a while.
100%. Yeah, I'll probably never leave the East Coast. We've been just based on my current situation, we've been talking about maybe going out west just for some seasonal work, but full time we would still be East Coasters, and I live and die for this place.
Right on.
Cool. So why don't you tell our listeners about kind of a little bit about where you're from, how you first started hearing about longboarding and how you got into it. Just to get us up to speed.
Yeah, let's go down this rabbit hole. So I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Jared Lopez is my most OG, local. I've been skating with him since day one. Now there's only one other person who I've been skating with since day one, and that's the person who introduced me to Jared. And that would be one of my closest friends at the time, Sam Crandall.
Sammy boy.
Crandall, absolute OG. He's like him and Jared are 2 of my biggest inspirations for tech sliding in general. And then like later on and like down the line, he introduced me to Rob, and then it just went on from there. I met Jesse, and then it was just this whole list of OG tech sliders on the East Coast that were just like killing it. And they introduced me to their OGs. But aside from that point, Virginia Beach, I met Sam Crandall at our local skate park, WRV Wave Riding Vehicles. I had been street skating for multiple years before that, just not as like a main thing, just as a side hobby. I'd go to the park every now and then in between baseball practice. And so one day I was like skating the mini ramp there, and I run into this tall, shaved head dude. He was just like giving off this weird vibe, and I was like, I'm also giving off a weird vibe. So we started skating together.
Master.
Yeah, we were both just like the biggest kooks in the park. Everyone was just staring at us the whole time. But then like this, eventually like I got his number because we'd run into each other a few times, and we started meeting up at the park. I must have been 15. Yeah, I must have been
Sounds
15.
about right. Yeah.
When I met Sam, I must have been 15, and so I was we'd skate the park for like another year or so every now and then. And then one day we're at the park and he's like, "Hey, I do this other thing. It's called downhill longboarding. Like I meet up with this crew of guys and we go to the hills around town and we just like slide the boards." And I'd seen a little bit of it from his Instagram, but never really paid attention to it. And then he was like, "You should come check it out this week. Like we're gonna be at this hill called Cabin Hill. This guy Jared Lopez makes these insane breakfast burritos and always has a ton of pot." And and so I'm in my high school me, I was like, "Oh, breakfast burritos and pot, like and more skateboarding, like what can go wrong?" And
Oh god.
from that, like I met up. We met up that weekend. I think Jared and Sam came and picked me up from my house, and I just got in the car with them. We went to Cabin Hill, undisclosed location, classic spot. We hung up like 3 hammocks on top of each other. It
Oh
took us an
yeah.
hour to set up everything for the day before we even got to skate down the hill. And like at that point, I had been skating street for a couple of years already, and so I could slide a little bit. But it was really like I day one I could throw a heel side stand up, and that was it for a very long time. Like I could throw a
And
heel
footage to prove it.
up and throw a 180. And for about a year, there were like little blips after that day when we would fun little fact about that day. That's like the day that Jared started Dolphin Team.
Oh yeah, it was March of 2017.
Yeah, it was one of the very first times I was there before Dolphin Team, Jared. I
Yeah.
was because the first Slidejam I went to was in February 2017, and I had been doing downhill for a couple months already.
What event was that?
Oh, the Czech Slidejam 2017,
Oh,
hosted by
nice.
Moonshine Finest, Jared Lopez, Nick Pappas, and Mark Nicholas. It was just three of
Mark was there?
the heavy hitters on Moonshine at the time, and
Huh.
yeah, Mark was there. Mark was like the dopest person. And so like
He's
it
a
was
cool
just
dude.
yeah, it was cool skating that day. Like I said, all I could do at that point was heel side stand up. So most of my day was spent going straight for a little bit, heel side stand up, big 180, switch around, then do it again. And it was, the perfect hill for that. Czech Republic, the embassy of the Czech Republic in Rock Creek, I believe.
Rock Creek Park.
Rock Creek Park, yeah. Classic spot. First event I ever went to. I think I still came in third in juniors because there was still a juniors at the Slidejam at that point, but it was just me, Ben Brown, and Kristen Ladegaard also was in that mix, but he's living in Scotland or something now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but that was like a classic day for me. That's engraved in my brain.
What'd you win?
Moonshine shirt probably, and maybe it was a set of puck pucks. Jared, puck pucks is what I won. Rob knows puck pucks. Shout out to Zach Veal. Puck pucks are the best. Rob's now got the formula, and it is just like
Oh,
Good
you're
trust on
talking
that.
about the pucks.
the pucks.
Yeah, the puck.
I was like, puck
Yep.
pucks. What? It's all good. It's all good, Daniel.
You know,
So,
okay,
so
man.
Daniel, was the allure of winning swag what kept you coming back for more, or was it a little bit different? Was it something else?
to be honest, I'm not really even sure what got me coming back. Like after the first day that I met Jared at Cabin Hill, I had already bought an Arbiter single kick, Arbiter KT 36 KT single kick from Sam Crandall, and I paid. It was like a number 10 at Taco Bell and a Baja Blast Freeze. And he gave me
That's the best price.
the board and a set of Acid Melon Caliber ones, and
Ooh,
and I rocked that setup with the same set of little hoots for probably the next 3 years.
he saw something in you.
Yeah, it was at least that. It was at least the trucks and the wheels, but then I swapped between the boards because Sam gave me that board, or Sam let me buy him the Taco Bell for that board. And then I showed up to Cabin Hill that day, and Jared was like, "Oh, this is your first time doing this? Like, next time I see you, I've got a present for you." And the next time I saw him, Jared showed up, and it was a brand new Sector 9 Mini Daisy, like the
yeah,
silver base with that jackrabbit with the golden horns.
Oh yeah.
good
And
starter board.
classic, dude. I still have it. I think my dad turned it into a clock, and it's probably in storage right now.
Really?
But
Turn into a clock? That's pretty cool.
yeah,
So-
like the little mechanism on the back. Yeah, it's a cool piece. It's always hung in my house because it's like the first board that I really tore through. And I think the Arbiter is also still around at the bottom of one of my bins. But I'm really bad at getting rid of boards. I usually skate them past the point where I can sell them off, or like at that point it's just firewood and I just don't want to burn them. So I'm like, oh, it's too sentimental.
Give him a proper death.
Yeah, I just
Skate
let
him
'em-
in the ground.
Yeah, exactly. I destroy boards. That's always been what I've tried to do. I was like, why would I buy a new board every now and then when I could just skate one board until it literally can't ride anymore?
How long does a longboard generally last you?
Oh, well, it depends. So I'll put it this way. I've been riding for land yachts for
Whoop, whoop.
2 years now. And the very first package that I got a Blaze, the Blaze PT, the Clayton Authors Pro model, and I'm still riding that board right now as like my main downhill board. And I mean, the way I see it, that board's got another 2-3 years in it.
Boards
Uh,
last a long time these days.
And
Speaking of this, I got a guest question that I want to insert into this conversation from your good friend Patrick, Dad KFC on Instagram. His question is, what's the longest you've had to practice to learn a new trick? And where's the Landy Pro model?
Ooh.
ooh,
Ooh.
I think I'll go backwards on this one. I think the Landy Pro model is going to be another few years. I'm still 22, and this day and age, it takes a little bit to build up that reputation with them. I love those guys. They treat me so well for being across the country and having never met most of them. And so just being able to say that I ride for them is enough. And also, like Clark Patrick, one of my closest friends, just got a pro model, and so I'm still trying to work through riding his board.
Yeah, Clarky boy.
That board is sick. If you haven't seen
That's
it,
a fun board.
it's just a giant skateboard.
Yeah, it's
Canoe.
perfect for you.
Oh,
Straight
yeah,
up canoe.
It's everything that me and my friends have been asking for years, and Clark finally did it. And so it's just it worked out well. But the pro model is probably not for a little bit longer. I can't.
What would you want if you could make one right now? Like, do you have something in mind?
Oh man, I feel like in my mind, the way it works, I wouldn't want to try and make something completely new. I would just mash together the boards that I've like in the past loved, and so it'd be some sort of double kick, which is hard to find a new or an original shape for an original variant of it. And I've been riding it's the old Steven Vera Pro model is what I've been riding as a double kick.
Oh, the sidewalk surfer. Yeah, that's a good slider board.
And it's amazing for tech sliding. I've excelled more than on any other board on that board, and so it's something in that realm. I would probably do away with. It has massive wheel wells, and sometimes those get in my way, and I would just aim for something a little more flat.
Yeah,
But
pretty aggressive concave from what I can remember.
oh yeah, definitely. It gets to be a lot sometimes, but then I'll take it down something I probably shouldn't sometimes, and that's when it comes in handy when I'm like really locked in and I'm just like wobbling on this double kick going 40 miles per hour, and I'm like but overall it would be a mashup of a few different things that I like in certain boards, and yeah, like, it would just be try and make it as much of my own as I can. Because I feel like there's a lot of repetition in boards these days. Someone makes a new pro model, and I've got a couple friends who have the single kick, the giant single kick pro models, and everyone loves them. And so they always find a way to make them original. Like, there's the Byron, then you've got the David, and then there's the Cole, and then you just go down that realm of a lot of like similar boards that have their own complete twist to them, and they're all different in their own ways. They've all found a way to make that shape their own.
True.
But yeah.
And the second part to that question was, how did you learn all these crazy tricks and combos that got you the lanyard sponsor the past 2 years?
I mean, it just a lot of hiking. Honestly, COVID-19 helped me out a little bit with that. Because I was a senior in high school. I didn't have much time to go out and skate, do anything really. I was working full time. And so COVID hit, and I had these huge gaps where I wasn't like my dad's got some health problems, so my sister and I were pretty particular about when we would go out, who we would see. We didn't really want to bring anything back to the house. And so there was a 3-month period where it was mostly just me sitting at home, not really doing a whole lot except skating in the front yard. And then eventually I talked 20 minutes away to the skate spot by myself, skate a hill for a little bit. And so I started doing that every day. And I just go there, and it would be my goal to learn, because there were a lot of basic things that I hadn't really picked up on quite yet. And so I just watch other videos of skateboarding at night, of like downhill, like Jared Lopez. I'd go through your stupid Instagram videos of you just like tic-tacking around and like doing the most weird combos. And I'd be like, oh, I'm going to do that tomorrow. And I'd go out and I'd try for hours and just silly things like that.
Sorry, dude.
And so I remember Pat said something about the longest it's taken me to learn tricks too. And in the virtual Slidejam submission, I landed a front side 3-shove slide. So like a normal 3-shove slide, but I did it front side, and it's like the way that you have to make it slide is like really weird and awkward. And I had been trying that for, I'd probably put 10 or so hours of just trying that trick. And that might be the longest I've really ever battled. It was 10 or so hours over a long period of time, so it wasn't straight, but it was a lot of effort put into it. And that was the second one I ever did. This one.
Wow.
Ooh,
Sick.
nice.
That's the first one that I landed was at a KFC Slidejam that Pat hosted in July. It was at the Kingswood Slidejam, but I had like kind of run through my trick list in the middle of the Slidejam, and I found myself at a point where I was like, oh man, maybe I should try and land something new. And I was like, oh, I've been trying this for a few months. Let me give this one a few tries, and it felt good the first couple, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this today. And
Daniel, I heard that when you do that trick, I heard it's more difficult to do it without the body varial. Is that true?
100%.
Okay.
Like with the bod, like the way I always think about when my board turns when I'm doing a shove it, or if I'm doing a big spin or something, it's the way that my shoulders turn or don't turn.
Right.
And so if I'm doing like a front big spin slide shove, and I do the 180.
Mm-hmm.
It comes a little bit easier just because my shoulders are also going with it. And so that's what made it awkward with the 3-shove, because I was trying to do the exact same motion with the board, just skip out on the body varial, and I'd been doing the body varial for so long that it just wasn't happening.
Gotcha.
But the 3-shove was a long process of mental battles.
Oh, I bet it was.
Falling on my ass a lot, and just hot days sweating my ass off for that one. So it was nice to get that one on video too, because I was just like, I'd done it already, and I was like, I didn't film it, no one filmed it, and I was like, shit, there's no proof.
So Daniel, when you were learning this trick, walk us through like how you kind of like, I guess, figure the trick out firstly, and also like, what do you do to keep yourself from like eating shit so bad that you can't keep practicing? Like, do you wear special pads, or just like try to catch yourself in a certain way, or what? Like, how can people kind of alleviate that element of trying a new trick?
Yeah. With like that whole trick process, I always start with a blank slate. Just kind of go at it. I don't really watch. I'll watch one video and see someone do it, and I'll see the trick done in front of me, and then there's not really a thought process on how I'm gonna do it. I'll just kind of go to a hill and try and throw one. And sometimes it takes a very long time to figure out the motion that I need just to even get the trick going. But I've found like it's instead of just sitting there and trying to like focus on one motion, it's easier for me to just try and put it all together at once and complete the motion. So I'll go through these processes where I'm trying the whole thing, but I'll be doing the whole thing, figure out the first part, it'll work out, and I'll just keep doing that, and then it'll obviously like trickle down into figuring out the first, second, third thing, and just that's always just the way that my mind has worked, just like putting the puzzle pieces together one step at a time.
So just like mash it until it fits.
Yeah, just throw the board around as much as possible until it fits.
That sounds.
And you practice that trick a bunch, and it something like tell us like what is it at like a slide jam that like helps you land a trick like that?
I mean, I always say that like the thing about slide jams, it's all about consistency because there's a lot of people online who post insane tricks, and you know they'll post crazy stuff one clip after the other, but then they get to the slide jam and you'll be like, oh, this person's really good, and they're like not really like putting things together because they usually spend 3 hours on one trick and then never do that trick again.
Yep.
And I've always, you know,
How it goes sometimes, dude.
go to a slide jam, you know, I do warm up for it. I'll go to hills days before and figure out like certain tricks that I'm gonna do, and then I'll do 30 of them to make sure that they're absolutely perfect. So that when I get there, it doesn't take me much, so that I can maybe get to a point where I'm learning new tricks in the middle of it.
Wow, so you're doing like recon work for the event.
100%, dude. I love
Boy.
Racing is really big nowadays, and I've tried that. I've put my stuff to work on that, and I just decided like I don't really want to do that. There's not really much creativity with this. I want to just like slide and throw my board around as much as possible, and so slide jams have always just been one thing that I focus super hard on. And Pat will tell you, Jared can tell you, when we were at the first Rosemary event that we went to in Charlotte.
Oh yeah.
Jared beat me in that one, and I came in second, and I was worked up from that because I thought like finally I had maybe gotten myself to a point where I could like beat the guy who taught me how to do all of this stuff. And so when Jared like beat me in that sparked this little flame in me again that I hadn't had for a while. To like, oh man, I gotta actually compete for this. Like this isn't just something that's gonna work out. Like I can't just post a clip and all of a sudden I'm the best and gonna win this. I was like, oh man, I've got to beat Jared. And so it really was like always just a race to like get up to Jared's level because he's just been like from the day that I started, he was a sponsored rider. And so I was always like under the influence, like, oh, I can do this too. And it took way longer than I thought.
For the record, Daniel, I do want you to beat me.
Oh, I know.
But we're doing it Ricky Bobby style.
We're doing it Ricky Bobby style.
I want you to beat me, Daniel Meyer.
I get the same like type of energy from slide jams that people do from racing. You know, they'll lose a certain race the year before and then study videos of that race and study the satellite images to make sure that they don't do the same things they did the year before. And so when I came in second that year to Jared, I definitely like went back through videos and was watching what he was doing and was trying to watch what I was doing and just like not comparing, but just like, oh man, what can I also like what specific things can I work on to get to that point?
I mean, I can give you my notes if you want.
And like that's the type of person that he's got notes on it. Like I've got my whole notes thing is listed with just like certain things I picked up, and it's like it's all because of him.
Well, he took
Hey man, you do your homework, you study your opponent, and sometimes you adapt. And like heck, I do the same thing in longboard dancing right now. the people I know going to events, I look them up, look at their runs, look at their lines, and see how I can outperform that or work around it. So yeah, Daniel, you learned from a good
I well, I appreciate it because now I'm at like I grew up in Virginia Beach where there's no hills, little to work with, and seeing Jared like be able to work with what we had there and still be a sponsored rider by one of the biggest companies at the time, it was like this can happen. Like it is available.
it
Um,
is.
and so for the longest time, I like just knew I was like, man, if Jared can do it, like I can do it, like, and it was like just the inspiration of like, oh man, like it's possible.
Yeah. Having someone in your community to like look at and see how hard you have to work for it is huge. Like where I was skating, we had no sponsored riders or like really thing to aim for. So it was just like, oh, if you can do a slide, you can get sponsored. But I mean, that's not reality, right?
Yeah, but then you finally get out there and you see the true world and you're like, whoa. And then that's why for a while I also veered away from doing like technical, like tech sliding. Is because I was doing it with Jared for so long, and then eventually I found some friends who had been skating mountains, and my mind was immediately like, oh man, let's go as fast as possible, and that was with Mitch. And so Mitch and I would just like every other weekend we would go out to the mountains and just skate the most heinous roads, and we were not good enough to skate these roads by ourselves, but
Oh
like
gosh, Mitch's
I,
toe side drifts were terrifying to watch. Oh my gosh, dude. He had balls, man. I'll give him that, but his toe side
He
drifts
did.
was like, oh my gosh. Like you thought you were
No,
gonna eat
no
it.
speed lost at all.
But he managed to make it through every time, almost every time. But it's like, wow, balls of steel.
he was that man. He was another reason why I got good at downhill, is because I introduced him to downhill the first time. I was like, yo, like we had been friends for a while, but I finally like reconnected with him again. And I was like, yo, you should come check out this thing that I've been doing for a while where I'd like just skate down hills and go fast. And pretty much instantaneously he was like, oh, you're skating down hills, let's go right now. And so he forced me to get in my car and drive us to the nearest hill, and I had two skateboards and one helmet. And so he was like, no, 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 you wear the helmet and the gloves, and I'll just skate down behind you. And I was like, dude, what the hell? And so the whole night we spent another 3 hours there, probably just like walking up and down this hill, just ripping one right after the other. And from that point on, Mitch would text me like every day and be like, yo, let's go do this again. Let's go do this again. And
Trying
so
to get high.
yeah, so I like bought him a helmet and I gave him some gloves, and I introduced him to Jared and all the guys at the time, and he just kind of joined in the crew. And then Mitch was immediately like progressing at going faster than everyone. Mitch
Yeah,
turned in he got
he
fast.
definitely progressed a lot faster than normal people.
Yeah, and so like the first time he skated out of Virginia Beach was a week after he started doing downhill. Mark Anthony was going up to New Jersey to his parents' house just to like hang out for the weekend, and he was like, "Hey, Mitch, like if you want to skate some real stuff, come with me." And Mitch was a week into it, just got his first helmet, first gloves, and was like, "Yeah, let's go." Couldn't even slide yet, and he got in the car to go skate these hills up in New Jersey with Mark, and just had the time of his life in New Jersey. And so he came back and had this major high, and the next 2 months after that were kind of a blur of just going to Richmond and skating down hills there, and then going to Williamsburg and staying in Virginia Beach, and then we went to Central Mass.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Central,
That was a journey.
that was 2019,
Yep.
and so it was my first time going. Jared had already been, a few times probably,
Yeah.
um, and it was a cult classic East Coast event, like Mike Gerard, MG Events hosting Central Mass. And it was the last year. Like it was confirmed this was the last year of Mass, and so Jared was like, "I don't care. You guys have to come with us." And so
Yeah,
we all
dude, it was the last one. You gotta go.
we all worked around our plans. I was on a 30-day baseball tour, that ended on July 31st. And so I got back to Virginia Beach on July 31st and had 2 days, I think, or no, I had like less than 24 hours, I guess, to pack a bag. And then we got into the car with it was me, Keaton, Mitch in that car, and then Mitch's like cousin or something. But we got in the car and we drove up to DC for the night, and we met up with Jared, Matt Boozer, and
G.
G was there at the time. Yeah, that's right. And we met up there, and then we stayed at Matthew McCoy's house. And then at like 3 a.m. on August 2nd, we got into the car and drove like 10 hours straight up to Massachusetts and got there at like noon, right when the activities were really starting, and just stayed there all day, put some hammocks up in the field, and just chilled watching people skate at the skate park at Central Mass. And that was super cool. It was the first time, is the farthest I had ever been away from home at the time. And so I was like, this is sick. Like, we're in Massachusetts, everyone's smoking legal weed around us and skating, and the cops don't care, and we're just having the time of our lives. And it was sick. But then race day was Saturday. That's where I was getting to with all of this ranting. But race day at Central Mass was Saturday. And Mitch had been like talking about, oh, I'm gonna race and I'm gonna do really well. I'm gonna do really well. And everyone was kind of like, like you started skating like 4 months ago, dude. You're gonna be okay. And so of course Mitch joins open. Like, he was just going right for it. And dude, like there were like 60, 70 people racing that day, and
Including Emily Pross, yeah.
including Tyler Topping, like a bunch of other people I like couldn't even name at this point. But but Mitch worked his way up to being, he was like 21st, I think. He came in 21st overall, which was I think they were doing 5-man heats.
I think so.
Yeah, that was super gnarly.
It was like 5-man heats because the road was wide and there was this huge flat section in the middle, and it was perfect for a 5-man heat. And so it got through it quick, and he was like 21st overall, and so he made it to like the semifinals. And after only 4 months of skating downhill, we were all kind of like, oh shit, dude, like that was pretty good. And Mitch took 21st. He took that as like, I just won the entire event. Like, I'm better than everybody because I've been doing this. And so he proceeded to get drunker than I've ever seen him in my life that night.
Oh gosh, everybody got turned that weekend, dude. We got a liquor sponsor for that weekend.
Oh man, it was it was ridiculous. Yeah,
everybody got turned.
Not bad considering that was like 2019 racing. 21st. That holds up even today.
I mean, that was the same year that Emily Pross was going on her IDF tear and like just destroying the open category. She was just smoking the guys all around the board, and everyone was like, fuck, fuck, fuck. And then she came in and everyone was like, fuck. But it was super cool to like have seen that in real life and be like, oh shit. And now I'm like now I'm friends with Emily Pross, and we don't really chat, but like I'll see her in person and we'll hug and we'll be like, oh, good to see you again, because we're both Virginia people and we grew up where we started skating around the same area. And so it's just like one of those funny things that happens in life, because when we saw her at Central Mass, she was just this goddess of longboarding, just like, holy shit, she's better than everybody. And now I'm just like sitting on corners with her, hanging out and talking to her because we're just like friends. And so
yeah, she's a bro, dude.
She's like a total homie, and it was just like one of those things where you'd see her in the photos and you'd be like, well, she would never talk to us. She's probably got bodyguards.
She's really good at sliding too. I've seen it firsthand.
Dude, Emily Pross tech sliding videos on YouTube. That's a classic. If you haven't seen that, just look up like Emily Pross on YouTube, and her personal YouTube should show up. And she's got videos from like New Jersey and like Central Virginia of her just like ripping.
Before she was a downhill rider, Wheeler's Wheels sponsored her as a slider.
That's right. Wheeler's was for everyone else, man. You were ahead of that curve.
That's right.
beginning.
She quickly moved on, but
So
quickly and rightfully moved on.
I remember the first podium picture that I saw from her is her at Central Mass, and she was riding wheelers too. And it must have been around that time. I don't, Jared.
What's that face, Jared?
History fun fact about Emily. Her first race was actually I Love Downhill in Windham, New York in June of 2012. I remember vaguely because she had eight ball wheelers Diablo or wheels, a original Maven, and white caliber trucks wearing a white 888 full face helmet. There you go.
Wow, Jared. Wow, Jared.
Sorry.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that announcement.
Sorry.
Was she podium though?
Of course, she won that bitch.
Wow.
See, she's been on her tear since 2012, man.
Oh yeah.
Probably the most winningest rider for longest.
Oh, I mean, she's got to be up there. I mean, K Rhymes was ahead of all of that, and he won a lot back in the day. But like modern day, winningest rider is probably Emily Prost because she was on a massive tear. And don't quote me on any of this. Harry Clark might be up there, but like he's won a lot too. I'm sure there are people that are right there, but she won a lot.
So Daniel, that year at Central Mass,
she's been world champion.
Jesus.
what was that?
Nobody's
Jared?
come close to that record.
7 times she's been the women's world champion.
Yeah.
7.
But then didn't she was
Pretty
top.
good.
Did she win the Open?
I'm not sure if she won the Open. I would have to ask her about that one.
She might have won the Open in points. Just like overall,
Possibly.
the win person that season, which is how they always base the IDF stuff.
I'd have to look back at the
yeah.
records on that one.
I don't know. Yeah, that's don't quote me on it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a racer. Sometimes I watch the live streams, but not very often.
That's
So
okay.
Daniel,
dude.
did you do the Slidejam that year at Central Mass?
I probably entered my name, but I don't think I showed up to the top of the hill because I was even at Central Mass that year. Still, the best thing that I could do is like massive heel side stand ups and like occasional toe side checks, very small ones. And so I probably signed up for it just so I could like skate the hill. And then just when they started calling for Slidejam, I think I hid in a hammock and was like, let me just watch because I don't really want to get up there and hurt myself. And even
Yeah, it's carnage up there from what I've seen.
that's the most heinous, still to this day, the most heinous Slidejam event I've ever seen. It was you're walking up the side of this cliff on this narrow little pathway, and the whole time there's people flying like 40 miles per hour down the hill next to you, doing massive slides, flying into hay bales, and you're just like inches from them.
Some real good like carnage videos online from that event.
Oh yeah, it's intense.
I vividly remember going over the hay bales on one of them because I was feeling good and I just like busted out this huge heel side almost to a stop, but then I like brought it back in and I was like, let me do a toe side check now. So I immediately tried to kick one out and I got it to slide and then it just stopped 90 and my board and I just kept rolling right towards the hay bales on the cliff, like going down the cliff on the right side of the road.
Oh,
And I was like, going a little too fast to just like not go over. So I like jumped off the board, planted my feet, my like shins hit the hay bale, and I just like toppled over down the cliff and did like a front flip down. And I remember looking up as soon as I stopped, and the hay bale then landed on me, and I was just like, oh man.
no.
But I was like 16, 17, I was 17, I think, maybe turning 17 like days after. But I like felt no pain for some reason, and so I like picked up the hay bale over my head and like stomped it up the cliff and like came out from behind the little cliffside with it over my head, and just like the crowd on the other side went from like oh and I felt so glorious, and then I walked down the hill.
You won.
Yeah,
You won the battle.
I won that battle, but I decided it was enough. I definitely walked the hill after that one.
So Daniel, when you're at these events and you're like kind of coming up in the longboard scene, almost in an era devoid of slide style videos, like who were you kind of looking at to get inspired? Like who was really like lighting the fire under you to go skate and learn and push yourself? I know you said Jared a little bit, which is awesome that he was
Yeah,
like around.
Jared was always just around and like always he had the connections to people, so he'd show me like new stuff every now and then. He was a gatekeeper though, not in like a real like I'm trying to gatekeep this.
They
He would
still give me shit for that all
no,
the time.
you would just see something cool and completely forget about it until a very specific detail makes you remember, and then we would just be like, dude,
Yeah.
you think about this the entire time and never told us.
Sometimes I forget.
but like Jared would show some cool stuff every now and then, and then I met Ben Brown and and Rion, and we started getting really close. Rion Singleton, because we're all kind of like the relative age, and so we just immediately
Rion.
they had already done the LWG thing. For the podcast sake, I'll call it Longboard World Group. But it was definitely not Longboard World Group. We they would just be like posting stupid YouTube videos and Instagram videos of just like their sessions, and then I started like hanging out with them, and we got pretty close. And so like to this day, they're some of my closest like longboarding friends, and now like not even longboarding friends, just friends in general. Uh, but they would show me cool stuff all the time just because they were a little more connected than I was. And so it was like nothing really specific, mostly like channels of old skate stuff, like old ABEC 11 stuff.
Oh hell yeah.
Just like no one really like specific because I never was a YouTube person until recently. Um, like really watching YouTube videos about it. I would always just kind of like see it on Instagram, like a small clip, and then swipe away, and then remember that I saw it later.
Oh, Daniel, my guy, dude.
And then,
That's where the library's at, man. That's how you get all the information. Instagram is a nice little snippet, but if you really want to dig deep in the
of
trick world and the dude,
I,
YouTube, that's how I learned. And
I
like, dude, I shit you not. I'll tell you a little secret. If I lose trick ideas, sometimes I will go to YouTube, just type in Slidejam, see if any recent Slidejam videos come up. I would watch those and see if anything new comes up. And that's how I found out about the judo slide. Actually, I saw one video of a Slidejam in Australia. I saw a guy do it. It's like, oh shit, I've never seen that before. I'm gonna go try that out. And that's what I did.
That's what you did.
So Daniel, have you been working on any hard tricks? Like what's the hardest trick you're working on right now, or hardest trick you've gotten down?
So pretty much since the virtual slide jam, that was kind of the last like event that I had planned for the season. Because I paced the summer sort of as the slide jam season because I know that Patrick is going to be doing his Charlotte events, and so I can always plan for at least 2 to 3 of those to like go and compete at, and that's like the majority of it. And then the virtual slide jam last year was one of the events that I was like pretty stoked on, and so I was like, oh well, I'm definitely going to do it this year, and that was like the next focus for it for the summer. And so that was really the end of my season. And since then, I've been just slacking on tech sliding in general. I had been skating some hills in Asheville a lot more often than I was like the rest of the summer. This past month, and then the whole hurricane thing happened. So in between like skating some hills every now and then, working, and then skating some like park mostly. Um, there wasn't much like tech sliding in between that. I did have a goal at the beginning of the year to do the frontside 360 shove, which I did. So that was one thing checked. And then the second check was a 540 shove, like a 540 slide shove.
Sheesh.
Ooh.
Like just something that's always been like I got to do this at some point. And then I also had the third one. The third one was the switch 3 shove slide, which I've also put a lot of hours into that one. Not quite as many as the frontside 3 shove, but I also haven't like been attempting that one as much. But those are really like the 3 keepers that I've been pushing for this year. And it seems like at this point I'm probably going to stick with just the one, just because I'm at this weird point in life where I'm not living in Asheville currently because of the storm, and I'm like kind of out in the boonies, and so I'm not gonna press tech sliding as much. I've got a skate park 30 minutes away, and I'm just gonna kind of chill for the rest of the year, let my legs rest, and then at the beginning of next year, the springtime ish, I'm gonna just hunker down and kind of try and keep pushing. Because overall, the goal in this whole tech sliding thing is to have at least one NBD, like at least one thing that no one's ever done. I just want to be
Oh, okay.
want to at least have one trick that I'm the first one to do.
Does that
And I
include like street tricks, like popsicle stick, street skateboarding?
mostly just tech sliding.
Okay.
Popsicle like the street stuff. That's always been what's kept the flame burning. Because whenever I get like into a slump with downhill, when I don't want to go skate like a whole run, or I don't want to go tech slide and hike a hill, I can always rely on being able to go to the park and at least skate like a mini ramp and get some time on board. So that's always just been a hobby. I've never really wanted to focus on just like getting really good at street skating. Um, and so
You're saying
probably
there's a lot of tricks that have been done in the street world that might be considered MBDs for tech sliding, but not necessarily like street boarding. Does that make sense?
yeah. So I've definitely part of the thing that I want to incorporate in whatever I eventually do is some sort of flip. Like whether it's at the beginning or the end, like I want to be able to flip the board around. I don't know about. I mean, I know that in the I'm this fun fact about me. I'm an avid rain skater. I love rain skating. It's one of my favorite forms to skate in.
Hell yeah.
Partly because of Jared. Like anytime it rained in Virginia Beach, Jared was pretty quick to like text in the chat and be like, "Yo, does anyone want to go skate 65th Street? Like anyone want to go slide in the rain right now?" And we would like gear up in rain gear and just putt around in the rain. And so that always just got me pretty adapt to like rain is just a normal thing to skate in. Everyone does that. And so when I moved to Asheville, and it was initially like a little bit tougher to get people to go out and skate in the rain for me, that was something I had to work with because I was like, shit, this is the best. But like over time, people like in Asheville have sort of like grown to it, and a lot more of them in Asheville do it now. And so I'd be able to like go out and slide in the rain. And so with tech sliding, when I tech slide in the rain, it's the most fun I ever have because I can do tricks in the rain that I can't even imagine doing in the dry, just because
Yep.
of how slick it is, how just it's so easy and effortless, and all you have to do is like it's a little I said and done, but easier said than done. But I have like the balance has a lot to do with it. Like
Yeah.
you do have to be like super well balanced to get it because it's slick. It's you're sliding on ice, like it's the same thing. And but when I have the time to go to a straight hill and it's raining, I'll just start throwing the most insane things. So a lot of these tricks that I say that I haven't done yet, like the frontside three shove, I've done that multiple times in the rain, but that doesn't really like count to me as a trick that I've done
I was
simply
gonna
because
ask.
it's in an easier it's in an easier location. It's raining, the ground is slick, and so I can get the board to do whatever I want if I like step on it the right way.
Right.
And
It's kind of like the equivalent of like jumping into a foam pit and landing a trick.
yeah. And another thing with the rain is it seems it's a lot more forgiving when you fall on the ground, I feel like, or when you're going fast and you slide out. As long as there's no curbs or anything that you're going towards, like you can slide out and usually like sit on your butt the whole time, and it's not going to burn through. You're not going to really like give yourself more damage than you need. Um, which really showed at Mark's event that he hosted, Dirt Farm. The first year of Dirt Farm, it was just foggy, pouring, overcast weather, and it was just the entire day. It was just wet, and
Yep.
everyone was like not having it. But the all day long, I was having the absolute time of my life, just going 50 miles per hour in the rain. Because in my mind, the way it worked is like, oh, if I fall, it's just gonna be like a massive slip and slide. Like there's grass on the side, and
I like that.
there's no curbs. I'm just flying into it's wet. Like the worst that happens is I tumble once or twice at the end. And that may be like a very like give and take mindset. I just like, I might be overestimating the actual pain amount that you get from that, because you can definitely still get fucked up in the rain.
Can confirm.
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it myself. I've definitely hit some curbs in the rain and definitely
Oh yeah, that's
regretted.
the worst.
But condition based, rain is definitely my favorite condition to skate in. I love it. It's and so like I can do certain tricks in the rain that I can't in the dry, and that really opens up a variety of tricks that I can do. So like I've done shove it into slides in the rain, because it's just like, as long as I put pressure in the right place, I can keep sliding the board. And it's just one of those little things that I like figured out just trying and so I couldn't do that in the dry to save my life. Like on no road and no conditions am I going to be able to get the board to slide that much. At least on soft wheels. Because then you have this whole other realm of tech sliding on hard wheels, which just opens up another dimension of tricks that you can do, because soft wheels are definitely a little bit less forgiving on their slides, but the way that they do slide and the satisfaction that I get from landing a new trick on soft wheels is far above the satisfaction that I get from like landing a slide trick on hard wheels. For whatever reason that is, the soft wheels have always just like clicked. They've always been the most thing.
Do you think that there should be a divided competition in the virtual Slidejam for hard wheels and soft wheels, or should it all be combined?
So this is definitely like some hot takes on either side, but I always have said like separate division, because I know that you're trying to include international riders for this, because it's a little tough to do all of that, but there are some dudes in Brazil who, if you put them into the mixed category with soft wheels,
That's what I said.
They're on hard wheels doing kickflips into slides and like popping from like tail blunt slide to a nose blunt slide, and on a soft wheel thing, that's just not possible, even like in race conditions. And so
it also comes down to like, is it possible to find like a common factor in which to judge both equally? And I don't think it is.
No.
They're just, I mean, you can rate difficulty of trick, you can rate flow and style and speed, but there's always just going to be some sort of shifting element. Like one thing at speed on hard wheels might be a completely different thing for speed on soft wheels, or I'm sure there's
you have to be
else.
a very experienced judge, and you have to be a damn good soft wheel and hard wheel rider to be able to judge both equally, which is pretty hard to find.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not many of us have the Brazilian tech slide and soft wheel free ride.
For sure.
Thing that I watch a lot on YouTube. Shout out to Louis Smith. He's my friend. Louis grew up in New Jersey, and this dude he's another one that I should have said when like with videos. Louis has shown me the most in-depth niche, like he researches for skate videos, like for longboarding and just like Brazilian tech sliders and like Colombian tech sliders. If you've ever seen a video, this dude has seen that video and every other video that person has made. Louis has done his research and has always been able to find me the craziest videos. Yeah, he just like some of those guys are just doing crazy shit, and
we need to bring this Louis guy into the fold. Maybe he could help us find some riders to be a part of the event.
Dude, yeah, he knows the people. He's absolutely the one person who knows everybody. Pretty much anyone. I'll find someone on Instagram and I'll like oh, this guy is sick. Let me send him to Louis and see if he's seen him. But then before I can even get to that point, I'll get to like the also followed by section, and it'll be like Louis Smith, the number one on there. And I'm like, shit, dude, he's already beat me to it. He probably had it months ago.
That's one of my favorite things about the longboarding community is like there's always that one dude who just knows everything about everyone shredding.
100%.
Like, oh, have you seen this? Like, oh, dude, I know you from this. Like, what? Like,
dude, 100%.
Dig in.
Just like,
should we queue up the other guest questions?
Oh yeah, got a guest question for you, Daniel.
Sick.
from
Let's
your
do
good
it.
friend Ben Brown.
Ooh, what's he got?
Ben Brown.
All right, here we go.
Yo, what up, Rob? What up, Daniel? Stoked that you're doing this kind of interview thing. Yeah, man. So I had a question for you, Daniel. I was curious. You're kind of an honorary member of a lot of different crews and groups around the country, especially here on the East Coast. So how have being such a monumental part of kind of a lot of different communities, how has that helped you progress and you grow in your own skating and kind of build the style that you've built over the last 7 or 8 years? Hope you're all doing good, Daniel. Call me soon, man. Love to talk.
Hell yeah. That's a great question. I probably should have gone through this list way earlier in the podcast. But I'll go time based on this one. So the first group, like skate group I was ever a part of was Dolphin Team, local Virginia Beach. The group chat has many people in it. The group chat has way too many people in it now. Most of them don't skate anymore or haven't skated with us in years. But Dolphin Team was the first one. It was initially Jared Lopez, Sam Crandall, Matt Boozer, like Michael Lawler
Michael Lawler, yeah, dude.
was like kind of there right at the beginning, but then he stopped pretty quick into me skating. And then there was Bryce, that one dude
Bryce Flannery, yeah,
only
dude.
like a couple of times, but he was around during that time. That was Dolphin Team, first one. That was very early in my career. That was maybe 2016, 2017.
Yep.
And then you like flash forward to like 2020, which is like right around COVID when I started going out to like mountains and just like DC to hang out with Ben Brown and Rion, who at this point had started LWG, and they'd been posting for a little bit. Ben was always into like cameras, and Rion always was into cameras and shit, and so they always had the ability to post online. And so that was LWG, and then pretty quickly into like hanging out with them, they were like, "Oh, Daniel, you're one of the guys. You're LWG too." And so I was like hell yeah. I'm like, now I've got two groups that I'm a part of. I was always stoked. I was like, I'll just be this jumper of groups. I'll just hang out with everybody. I'm not gonna have one specific group. I just want to be a part of everyone's group. And
You
so
whore.
and then eventually I just started like traveling around and meeting all these new people, and I would just be going on like little day trips or just like little like stints with different groups that weren't even like labeled groups. They were just like groups of people. Like I had my Northeast friends, I had my Southeast friends in like North Carolina, and then there was the Virginia people like in Virginia. So there's like near Reddish Knob area, and then Richmond, and then the DC area. Like those were all different groups of people that I would go and skate with. And then that was like 2020, 2021 ish, towards the end of it. But then October 2021, and obviously I was like, I still love these people. I'm not gonna stop repping their group. So I lived there and was still like, yeah, these are my dogs. And then it must have been winter of 2022, like right at the beginning of the year, when I met Ed Garner. Shout out to Ed Garner. Fucking Ed Garner, man.
Legend. Yo crew.
He is, man. He has been around the East Coast. He is an East Coast like legend for sure. He did his stints up in Pennsylvania. He grew up in Maryland doing where he started Yoke Crew, YCYC, and so I met Ed in the winter of 22, and I guess he had just dropped his like year video, or his newest skate part. It was like right after that he had dropped a skate part of him like just the best skating of his life, the most aggressive downhill skating I've ever seen on camera. Maybe he was just doing heinous shit. The car was in the air. He was going straight towards bumpers of cars in multiple sections. He just some of the most fucked downhill skating I've ever seen. And he's always just been like an East Coast legend, so I knew about him. I never really thought that I would be his friend or anything, but then we like hang out one night, and I woke up the next day and there was like a DM from Ed Garner, and it just said, it was like, "Yo, you want to join Yoke Crew?" And I was like,
Hell yeah.
sure, why not? Why the hell not? And so, and then at that point, like in my Instagram bio, you'll see it says like DT for Dolphin Team, LWG, and then you've got YC for Yoke Crew. And it's just like 3 of the labeled groups of people that I associate with, just because they're my friends. Like they're the people who I've now formed relationships with in the sport, and they're I love all of them. Like it was real early into me moving to Asheville that Ed was like, "Yo, you trying to join Yoke Crew?" And then in between all of his major injuries that he's been having since I moved there,
He's always injured.
he would spend a lot of time skating just different hills and just like driving around and breaking into neighborhoods, and and so he was always like right at that beginning of my time in Asheville, he was a regular in my life. And so he formed a lot. He told me a lot of cool stories about him and when he started skating, and he skated with Byron Essert and Liam Morgan for a long time, and was like part of the OG group out in California, just like getting flown out. They paid for him to go to like Barcelona and Spain and shit. And so if you ever need to talk to anyone about OG shit in the downhill longboarding scene, Ed Garner is one of the best to do it, because he's been there for a long time.
Absolutely. I met him
yeah.
in one of those stints in Berkeley, California. And yeah, seeing him skate in person, every time I see a video of him, I just like, I need to see this in person, because I just can't, it's not the same. He's
Dude,
going so much fucking faster than it looks like in the video.
Oh, and he's always going that fast. Even when he's free riding and doing stand-up slides, he's always booking it. Like
Yeah, he's in blur mode.
And he hasn't skated in quite a while now, because he got hit by a car about a year ago now.
Oh shit!
Completely blew out his knee and his leg, and it was like one of the worst injuries I've ever. I wasn't there. A couple of my friends were there at the time, and I've seen a picture or two, and it was just like some of the most gruesome shit I've ever seen. And
Nice.
Ed in the past 3 or so years has gone through a couple different career-ending injuries that he should have prevented him from skating for a long time after that, and he keeps like bouncing back. And then like after this one, he just like it's a little different than the last few.
Is he
That
able
sucks
to
to
walk?
hear, man.
Yeah, it's a bummer, because Ed's a classic homie, and even just like being around him as much as I was sick. And so seeing him go through that really puts into perspective how dangerous this sport is, because it gives and it takes just as much.
Yeah. And it takes hard.
It takes hard. When it takes, it takes.
Yes,
I
it
might
does.
have sent you a video or two of it taking from me.
Oh yeah, we got one right here.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Next Brixton. Yeah, I'm gonna be here for the next one. You better.
Oh, Brixton.
You better not lose, Daniel. Don't you better not lose, Daniel.
Oh, in the face.
Hey, oh shit.
Did that knock you out?
No, so I was definitely seeing some stars after that one, but I wasn't like totally out of it. But that was me. That was me and Will Arwick, my good friend Will Arwick. We were racing at the Brixton Hill at Beach Mountain near Boone, North Carolina. We call it Fox Tits. But they had their like monthly race that they were having at the time, and we got there, and there's 3 feet of snow around the entire course. And so the road's super narrow already. Like the snowplow had only gone up enough to clear out like 1 lane of a path. And so we knew racing was going to be tight. And I made the decision that I was going to ride this, like, it was a really old Pantheon Logos double kick, with some very tall trucks and wheelers. I was on wheelers in this one, the 85 A1s. So some slick wheels, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna race this setup. It's only a couple hairpins. All I got to do is go fast for a second.
Daniel,
And,
sir.
I still don't, I still don't regret that decision. That was solid.
Are you sure about that? I mean, look at the tape, bro.
That's not what took me out though. So made heat.
Okay.
I think I won my first heat somehow, and then I got paired up with Will Arwick, who's like, no.
I got a question for you. So this year you got first place in the Rosemary Slidejam and the Kingswood Slidejam, and you got second in the virtual Slidejam. My question to you is, what has been the biggest moment of your career so far? Has it been winning these events, getting a lanyard sponsor? Are you chasing the MBD?
The biggest moment of my career.
Yes.
Shit, dude, that's a toughie.
Is it yet to come?
I feel like I don't know. I want to say it's yet to come. I mean, so far was probably just like this summer in general. Was like I kind of every slide jam that I competed in or went to, and like even that includes Skate the Cape, because that was like part
Hey,
of that
skate
round
the
of
cape.
I was going to at the time. I was doing pretty well in them, and I was just like I felt really good. And that's really what I want to keep doing is like I want to feel good while I'm doing it. As soon as it stops good is probably when I'm gonna start getting bored of it because that tends to be what I do with things. I do it until it feels like it's like right there and perfect, and then I'm like, all right, cool, like I'm good. And like that doesn't mean I'm gonna stop doing it. That just stop like maybe making it such a hard point in my life. Like I can actually relax a little bit because before slide jams, all the preparation that I do the days before, even going and just like skating the hills the days before, I am stressed. I am like working up a sweat just thinking like this has got to work, this is going to happen, like I have to make this work. And so it's
Is that
just
just a pressure you put on yourself?
yeah, it's a lot of pressure I put on myself. It's nothing that anyone's giving towards me because I do like I'll go to these events and I'll be like, oh, you're doing so great, man. Why are you so worried? Why do you keep like running up this hill when you're like passing out? I'm like, because I have to like make sure. I have to like write it in stone. It's got to be there. And that like might just be my personality in general. Um, but then there's certain times that it comes out a little more. Like when I'm competing against certain people, it comes out a lot more. Like Jesse Fabrizio is a huge person just because I know how big of a he's a beast in this tech slide game. That man can outskate just about everyone and their mamas. And I was living with him for a year and a half, and I loved it because the entire time it was just me watching everything that he did, and just like feeding off of that, just trying to like get myself to that point. And so anytime I compete against Jesse, I'm always like, the pressure's on. Like it's good. It's great. It's one of the best feels. It's an adrenaline rush. It's these endorphins that like push out during that period, and certain individuals will bring it out more than others.
Well, dude, enjoy that because a lot of skateboarders don't have that, and I feel like that's the key to progression is just having the ability to like push back and forth with someone who's like ripping, and especially in like slide jam style skating, like, dude, you find yourself in the right place at the right time for that.
It really helps, being around such a huge crew of people. Even though I'm not right, like I still know that like I have this group of people back in Asheville who I could. There were times we'd go out to like the straight hills in Asheville, and there would be 7 of us, like all just going absolutely ballistic on the hill, and it was just the sick moments because it's Asheville. We're loaded with some of the best on the East Coast, and so it was like a slide jam every time. We would just be like doing a slide jam with the friends, and no one's competing. We're just all just throwing down the best stuff of our lives just because. And that's the fun, and it's still like we're not competing for anything, but we're still competing in a way. Like who's going to do the best trick?
Okay, quick question for you on that note. Who's your favorite skater right now?
Ooh, um, Oh, there's this dude in somewhere in South America. Either I don't want to say the wrong country, but his name is Sandy Gomez, and he's this like street skater guy, but he rides this longboard. Um, like he rides like a dancer style longboard, uh, and he's insane. He's skating transition sets. He's doing flip tricks down giant stair tricks that's on this longboard, and it's just one of those niche skaters that one of my friends showed me. Mikey Keener, he showed me this guy, and he's like, "Yo, check this guy out." And he was doing the same stuff that the pros are doing at the skate park on normal skateboards, except he was on a longboard doing it. And so since then, I've just been like kind of on watching his videos. Um, I've got three people that I'm going to name. Who's one? Sandy Gomez. Clark Patrick is another one, just because I've spent
Hey, there you go.
with Clark. And there was a stint about a year ago when every single day for a couple months straight, up with him in the mornings, we'd drink coffee and like smoke porch, and then go and skate somewhere new every day. And it would be impossible. We would just either go skate like a street spot, or we would go skate a hill. And every single bring some variety. Never seen some like new trick or just new way of skating, and it was just like super cool to see someone that I had also been watching online for so long in front of my eyes and be friends with them and just like go about normal life with them. That was, you know, cool to do that. So he's the number two person. And then
Daniel, have you heard of Brad Edwards?
huh?
Brad Edwards. Have you heard of that guy?
Name rings a bell.
Okay, because
He's
I feel
literally
like
you.
well, no, because you talked about the guy from Brazil. It was like he skates
Yeah.
parks with a longer board. I was like, huh, I wonder if he's heard of Brad Edwards because he had a pro model with gravity boards back in the day. I was just curious if you knew him, but if you haven't, look him on YouTube. Anyway, go on with your list.
So number three is more of like overall, like they don't really skate anymore, and this is kind of like a two for a person, because it's Todi Patina, Todi, and Bruno Sierra. Um,
Ooh,
The
videos,
combo.
yeah, that combo of people in the old Bustin videos of like Bruno and Todi go to Barcelona,
oh
Bruno and
yeah, dude.
are just some of the most classic, perfect videos I've ever seen of them riding yo faces and maestros and just tiered Bustin boards through cities and going absolutely ham on them, doing tricks that still no one to this day has done and that probably no one will attempt because they're so weird. Just like in general, like they were doing fakey early grabs down massive stair sets in those videos and doing like flip trick grabs that I've never seen. Just those are huge inspirations. Those are some of the videos that I'll go back to still like over and over again, and I'll still like continue to find new little details about it that I've never seen. And
Oh yeah.
just the creativity that they put into those videos, those old skate and explore stuff, even like the Bruno Todi go to New York City, like everything about those videos is amazing.
Is there anybody who you would do a video like that with?
I mean, it depends. I skate a lot like because I have also like had time on board with a lot of different people at this point. And so like three off the top of my head that I could probably do a video like that with are Mikey Keener and I could put something together like that. He's my best friend. He's here in Bahama with me right now. My girlfriend's 21st birthday was the other day, so he was here for the party. Um, just like a good friend of ours now, but we have spent countless hours skating together the past 3 years. And so I feel like we would be able to put something together like that. Clark Patrick is another one. We've actually talked about like getting lanyards and whoever to pay for us to go to a different country and we could
That's what I'm
film
talking
some
about.
lines. That's
That's
always
what I'm talking about.
that's the dream. And so
Come on, Lanyards, make it happen.
so that's always the dream. Clark and I have definitely spent some time talking about that. And then Jesse Fabrizio, we've had our like ups and downs in our actual relationship of being friends, but overall, like he's still like a lot of my technical skating and even street skating and downhill ability has come from just like skating behind him, and so a lot of it kind of like I try and do a lot of the same stuff as him sometimes, just because it's what we think alike in those ways. Well, I'll see him do a new trick, and I'll be like, "Damn, I was thinking about doing that trick last week," and he like got to it first, or he'll say the same thing, and we'll be like, "Shit, this is it's we the collaborations that we think of sometimes are like on par." And so,
Daniel,
yeah,
I want to see a West Coast collab video where you hit like Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco with like those people,
Ooh.
and just like sidewalk slash the shit out of them.
I would
That'd be so
love
sick.
those over there. Like, obviously Lanyards is Vancouver, and so that's been a goal is get out to Vancouver, skate with them, do the bus lap with the BRPs, and that would just be the time of my life. And then Portland, Oregon, my friend Jack Wallace just moved there over the summer, and he's been posting like videos and pictures of him doing bus laps in Portland. There's some of the most underrated bus laps that I doing, there's hairpin city slashing through the whole thing. And so Portland's always been a goal. And then Seattle's a classic like skate area. Everyone's just talked about the times they've had near Seattle, near and in Seattle. And then obviously San Francisco is just classic, absolute banger of a city. And I've never made it out there. And so um, once I get my whole life figured out and once I can travel around a bit more, that side of the country is definitely on the list, but it's not at the top of my list.
Oh yeah, I'll either
Alright.
see you there or see you in Nashville.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel, we got a hot take segment for you, and these are quick rapid fire answers to these questions. So try not to think too hard. Toe side or heel side?
So side.
Ramps or rails?
Ramps.
Favorite skate trick food?
Oh shit, food. I always resort to PB and J's, even though they're really not my favorite. But PB and J's.
Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram. I've never had a TikTok.
Do you crumble or you roll your toilet paper?
Oh, I just roll.
Whoa.
Soft or hard wheels?
Oh man, soft. I guess like overall.
Wow. Damn.
That's a very. I have like 6 different setups, man. This is a bad question. This is me, and this is.
That's a tough one for you. All right, longboarding or downhill skateboarding?
Longboarding.
Hey, that a boy.
I think they're different. I've downhill skateboarded and I've longboarded before. I think we can. I think we can decide. We can have them as 2 separate categories.
Who would your ideal sponsor be? Not the longboard brand.
My ideal sponsor, just in general. Oh, PBR, man.
Nice.
He did the same thing. I love it, Danny boy. I love it.
All right, last
now
one.
Now that you're 21, Daniel, you can send him an email, dude. It's sponsor season. Why not?
Oh, I know some reps, man. I'm in there like swimwear.
Yeah, dude. Hit him up.
All right, last one. Who is the GOAT of longboarding?
Ooh.
All right, so is this longboarding, downhill skateboarding? Is this just like
That's a good question.
You said
Stop thinking about it. Just answer.
I think my opinion is flawed in this. I mean, so I'm just gonna go with the overall judgment and say Byron Essert is probably like top tier longboarder, dude. Byron is goated. You can't go wrong with Byron. He's got it all. He's got the flip tricks. He's got the slides. He can go fast. He can win races. Yeah, overall he's got it all.
All hail Byron.
All hail Byron. As much as I hate to fanboy, all hail Byron.
Wow,
Well
incredible.
done. Well done. Thank you.
Daniel, it sounds like you've got like a lot of stories yet to make, and then tell us once they're made. So we definitely want to have you back on and catch up.
This was sick. I had a very good time, and I appreciate talking to three fine gentlemen like you.
Oh yeah,
Thanks
brother.
for being on the show, Danny boy.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yes, stoked to have you. We'll just let everybody watch this clip real quick.
Hey,
Oh
see
wait, it took it away.
no.
You take my
Somewhere
breath
around here.
away.
It's probably this one. Here.
Here we go.
Ah,
Go.
love Roman candles, man. I just got one the other day, and it felt like I might be able to do it again.
Just got to really focus on that lean, otherwise you're gonna hit the dirt.
I've been there in the dirt. All right, guys. Well, it's been a real one. Thanks for sliding through, Daniel.
Y'all have a beautiful rest.
Love you, bud.
Love you all.
You just know what's going down. Tomorrow we got the Slidejam. You know we pretty far now. You know we just got all these people here with us, and I just love it when you guys around and you're all